So I mentioned in the last video that reading a burette can be tricky. So we're going to practice a little bit with that in this online simulation because I can't show you how to do that with a traditional burette. It'd be really difficult to see. So here are two examples of burettes that we're going to try to read. So we notice that the numbers go up top to bottom, so 11 to 12 and 21 to 22. So we are going to read these burettes from the top to the bottom. Now, there are 9 markings in between these, which means that it's going up by 0.1. So when I look at this burette, I would read it as 11.123. And as I mentioned in the previous video, we record 1 decimal place past what we absolutely know. So this volume would be recorded as 11.30. That might be my initial volume that I record for the titration. That's how much I filled my burette. Now this bottom burette, I've drained, so this might be after I've completed my titration and the color changes occurred. So again, I'm reading it from top to bottom. It looks to me like I am between 21 and 22, and it's between the 0.1 and the 0.2 mark. This is why we always read to the one place past what we can absolutely see on the markings. So I don't want to say 21.1 or 21.2. I want it someplace in between. So 21.15 would be what I record this volume as. So if this had been my initial volume and my final volume, to figure out the volume that we actually used, I take 21.15 and I subtract 11.30 to give me 9.85 milliliters. That would be my volume used in this experiment. Let's try one more practice together. So again, here's our burette. In this experiment, they started with it being pink, and we have our initial volume. I see that the meniscus is between the 10 and 11 mark, and I'm not reading bottom to top. Remember, I'm reading top to bottom. So again, these markings are going up by 0.1. So there's the 0.5 mark, 0.6, 0.7. I would record this as 10.70 for my initial volume. Now you can see I've revealed a little bit more of this image. We're going to actually do this titration. So I'm going to start, and what's going to happen is this is going to open, and what I'm looking for is a color change. I'm looking for this color to change to be colorless. Okay, and there's what we call a stir bar in the bottom that's being operated magnetically. So instead of having to swirl in this simulation, we're seeing the magnetic bar. And what I notice here is that it's starting to get colorless. So I think I need to add a little bit more. And again, there's still a little bit of pink, so I'm going to start it, and this to me looks like it's going to be my final volume. So again, let's read this burette. We're reading it top to bottom, so I see 26, 26.5 would be here. It looks like it's between 0.5 and 0.6, so I'm going to say 26.55 will be my final reading. So I've entered my final reading of 26.55. So now in order to figure out how much I actually used, I need to grab my calculator and do the subtraction problem, because I started around here at 10.7 and I have now drained the burette to 26.55. So to figure out the total volume used, I need to subtract those two values, and that will be my volume used. So that's going to be 15.85. Once you know the volume of the liquid used from your burette, as well as the molarity of one of your solutions, and the initial volume of what was in the Erlenmeyer flask that we started with, you can then use your formula MAVA equals MBVB to calculate your unknown molarity.